Hi, good afternoon. So to continue with our discussion on the different kinds of obligation or types of obligation, so we continue with obligations with a period. So it covers Article 1193 to 1198 of the Civil Code of the Philippines. Alright, so 1193, obligation with a term. So how does it differ with conditional obligation? So remember, when we're talking about obligations with a term, you're talking about period. And also, this is a future and it should be certain. Even if it is future, it should be certain. Hindi siya conditional that we're not sure whether it will happen or not. But a period is a future and certain event upon which demandability or the extinguishment of the obligation would depend. So, don't get confused because we have, di ba, yung suspensive conditional natin, we have resolutory conditional obligations, but we also have suspensive period and resolutory period. So, when you say suspensive period, obligation is demandable only when the day arrives. For example, I will pay 100,000 pesos on December 31. Let's say, for example, I'm saying this today, January 20, okay, I'm recording this on January 27. Okay, January 27, 2026. So if I will be talking about December 31, 2026, it is a future and it is a certain event because we are all sure that December 31 is always on our calendars and it would definitely arrive. But when you say regulatory period, the obligation is effective at once but ends upon arrival of the date. For example, you may use my apartment until June 30. So the obligation is already being exercised, that there's already usage of the apartment, but only that it can be used until June 30, and upon the arrival of the period of June 30, then the obligation is extinguished and the person may no longer use the apartment. So what is the difference between a period and a condition? Again, period is future and uncertain and a certain event which we're sure that it will happen. While for a condition is a future but uncertain event, so it may or may not happen. So Article 1194 would now talk about the computation of the period. So when computing the period, remember that you should exclude the first day and include the last date. So for example, contract signed by March 1 and your contract is and your debt is payable in 10 days. So you should start counting from March 2 heading towards March 11 because that would be your 10th date. So we have a law professor a lawyer who is a work professor in legal management back then, who taught us on how to count based on the civil code. So you start with your fist, just being real tight. If your contract was signed on March 1, you don't start counting the first day on March 1. So you say March 1, and then you go towards 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So the 11th day should be March 11 would be your 10th day. All right? So don't get mistaken about that because whenever we're talking about contracts and we're talking about contracts, then we're basing it on our civil code. Unless you have a different mode of counting that you have agreed upon, then we don't follow the computation. But as a general rule, we follow the computation of a period, especially if what you've been given is just the days or the period for it rather than the exact date when it would be due and demandable. So what are we talking about when we say payment before the period? So for example, in payment before the period, it is that you have paid before the due date. So if you have paid before the due date and you have voluntarily made so, you cannot just recover it saying na ay hindi pa naman pala due date, so bawiin ko na lang muna. Bayaran na lang kita pag due date na. Unless you have paid it by mistake and you have truly believed that it's already the due date, the reason why you're already paying it. Hence, that's the only time you can recover it. Okay? So for example, hindi mo naintindihan agad, ano? Hindi mo naintindihan na agad na ang sinasabi pala sa iyong March 25, ano? Sinasabi sa iyong March 25 ayun pala ay ano, yung pala ay papaalalahanan ka pa lang na ang due date mo ay malapit na dahil ang due date mo talaga ay March 30. Pero nung pinaalalahanan ka, nataranta ka, akala mo March 25 ay due date mo na. So nagbayad ka na agad-agad, not realizing na March 30 pa naman talaga. So if you have really believed it you have believed it to be the due date and you have paid it by mistake, then pwede mong i-recover pa. But if you have voluntarily paid for it, let's say for example, March 30 pa, eh tamang-tama nagkaroon ako ng extra money ng March 15. Mabayaran na kaya kasi baka mamaya pagdating ng March 30, wala na akong ipambayad ulit. So, you have voluntarily paid it. Then, March 16, naisip mo, ay may gusto pala akong bilhin, ma-recover nga muna yung binayad ko. Kasi, total naman, March 30 pa talaga, hindi na pwedeng basta-basta bawiin. Okay? And then, we have, so for the presumption, we have this presumption that the terms fixed or the period being fixed by the parties are always favorable for both of them. So it is presumed to be for the benefit of both the creditor and the debtor unless shown otherwise. So how do we see if it is being shown otherwise that there is favor to one party? So for example, if it is for the debtor's benefit, the debtor may pay earlier, but the creditor cannot demand early. If it's for the creditor's benefit, the creditor may demand early, but the debtor cannot pay early. If it would be shown that it is for both of them, the benefit is for both of them. Neither can compel early performance without the other's consent. So you see that in the if it's for the debtor's benefit or the creditor's benefit, there's an advantage to one of them, but it is for both. Whatever is agreed upon and and you want to go beyond what you have agreed upon, you still need to get the consent of the other in order for you to perform that obligation, or if you want to perform your obligation early. Okay? And then you have as well, um, if your obligation would, that you have an intended period, you wanted to fix a period, but failed to do so, so what you can have, or one of your remedies could be, is that you may ask the court to fix a period. So for example, meron kayong intention, both of you have an intention to have a fixed period. Let's say gusto niyo naman by the end of the year matapos si obligation. However, you failed to fix it. And it's not clear to the other party na meron kang ganong intention. So, you failed to fix it, but you have an intention to do so, you could go to the court. I know, because it's clear on both of you that there's an intention to have a fixed period for your obligation. Yun nga lang, um, hindi naging clear or hindi talaga na-present, na ibigay in your obligation or in your agreement kung kailan yung fixed period na yun. And then you have the period depends upon the debtor's will. So if the period is solely dependent on the debtor's will, like for example, I will pay you when I can, which implies a period, but it is indefinite. We never know kailan mo gustong magbayad, kailan ka magiging able to pay. Ano? So another example is that I will pay you when my business improves. The improvement is subjective for a person. The debtor may see that the business is still not improving, but the creditor may see that nag-improve naman na yung business niya, bakit hindi pa siya nagbabayad? Hence, the court may fix a reasonable term in order for them to have a better or an agreeable term or period whenever the obligation would become due and demandable. And then you have Article 1198, the debtor loses benefit of the term. So, kanya nawawala yung kahit siya ay napag-usapan si December 31, let's say, si December 31 ay napag-usapan niyo talaga na kailangan dito magiging due and demandable. However, before December 31 arrives, the debtor was declared insolvent. Okay? Kapag siya ay na-declare na insolvent at wala naman siyang security na iniwan sa iyo, hindi ka pwedeng magsabi, let's say, March pa lang na-declare na siyang insolvent. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin, okay, hanggang December 31 pa naman, mag-iintay na lang ako. When a person is insolvent, the losses are much greater than the assets. So, when that happens, we never know kung kailan makaka-recover. Okay? It's not that we're being pessimistic, but we never know kung kailan siya makaka-recover from it. And the court, if especially if someone has filed a case for collection of sum of money, the court would call upon all the creditors of this person. So if you're a creditor to this person, you have to make it known to the court in order for you to be included whenever there are assets available na pwedeng mabayaran yung liabilities sa iyo. And then you have he does not furnish promise guarantee or security. Nung kayo nag-create ng obligation, nagsabi sa'yo, okay, for 5 million pesos, uutang sa yung 5 million, I will surrender to you the title of my house, my property, para yun yung panghawakan mo. It is as if it's mortgage to you. Okay? So, siya ay naka-mortgage sa iyo, pero binigay mo si 5 million, siya naman hindi pa ibinibigay sa iyo yung title. So, wala kang pinanghahawakan technically. Usap lang yung pinanghahawakan nyo. Then you can ask for, you can ask for the immediate payment as well. And then he impairs the security or disappears through his acts. Let's say, nagbigay sa'yo, pero ang binigay sa'yo is certified true copy lang, not the original title. Yung pala kaya ayaw i-surrender sa'yo yung tunay na title is because may intention siya to sell it to another person while pending yung pagbabayad sa iyo. Kahit sabihin natin na ang intention naman niya is kaya ko namang bayaran yung utang, kaya ibebenta ko na tong security or mortgage. What if it fails? And even if um matagal pa, December 31 pa, pero siya na nabalitaan na ibinenta niya na noong July, pwede nang i-demand yung full payment of the debt or the obligation. Or he violates any undertaking upon which the creditor's reliance depends. So, kapag meron silang agreement, tapos yun yung pinanghahawakan niya in order for the creditor to believe that the debtor can still comply with his obligation, at yun ay na-violate or hindi natupad yung mga pinag-usapan, then the debtor could lose the benefit of the term or the fixed period. Or he attempts to abscond. Kung nakita nila na meron ng ticket paalis ng bansa and nabalitaan sa mga kamag-anak na doon pala ay hindi na uuwi muna kasi magtatago na sa mga pinagkakautangan, then the debtor also loses the benefit of the term. Okay? So Articles 1199 to 1206 talks about alternative and facultative obligations. So ano ba pag sinabi natin alternative obligations? So these are several prestations which are due, but performance of one would be sufficient. So for example, the debtor will deliver either a laptop or a tablet. So if you would see, meron tayong options. Okay? Meron tayong options, pero isa lang yung kailangan niyang i-perform. Isa lang yung kailangan niyang i-deliver, or in this case, as an obligation to give, isa lang yung kailangan niyang ibigay. Pero, lahat ng things na yan are already due and demandable. However, isa lang yung kailangan niyang ibigay in order for the obligation to be completely fulfilled. Okay? Now, who has the right of choice? Kasi may options Meron tayong option na laptop or tablet. So, sino dapat ang mamimili? Alin talaga dapat yung i-deliver mo? The right of choice belongs to the debtor unless expressly given or granted to the creditor. So, ang unang may right of choice would be the debtor. So, siya nagsabi na i-deliver ko laptop or tablet, depende sa akin kung ano ang dadalhin ko sa iyo. Okay? But remember, both of the items are due and demandable, but the performance of giving one item would already complete the obligation or extinguish the obligation once fulfilled, once completed. So, si debtor, kung sabi niya, parang mas gusto kong ibigay yung laptop, okay, laptop na lang. Pag binigay sa'yo yung laptop, the obligation has been fulfilled unless napag-usapan nyo na si creditor ang may choice. Okay? Si creditor ang mamimili pagdating ng demandability. Si creditor ang magsasabi whether ang gusto niya is si laptop or tablet. So, ano yung limitations natin on our choice or kung whoever may be allowed to choose? The debtor cannot choose prestations that are first impossible or unlawful or could not have been the object of the obligation. Hindi dahil ikaw as debtor ay nasa iyo ang right of choice, ay pwedeng ang pipiliin mo ay yung mga hindi naman talaga possible na mangyari. Okay? For example, ang choice na binigay mo, bigyan kita ng laptop or bigyan kita ng shabu. Shabu is unlawful. These are dangerous drugs which are not allowed to be in possession or even to be given or even to be to be gained by one person. So, kapag ganun, nawawala yung choice. Nawawala yung choice. Kasi the only legal choice would be the laptop and not the shabu. Okay? And then, Article 11.12.02 tells us that there is a choice, whenever we have already chosen, meron na siyang effect upon us to communicate this. Okay? So the choice takes effect only when communicated to the other party. But before communication, the obligation remains alternative. Remember, ang tinatawag nating alternative is that meron nga tayong several prestations, but the performance of one would be sufficient. However, if meron ng choice, at ang choice na ito has already been communicated. Let's say, pinapipili ka nga, laptop or tablet. Sinabi ko na sa iyo na ang i-deliver ko sa iyo ay laptop. So once it becomes communicated to you, then may effect na 'yon. Kailangan ang i-deliver mo na is the laptop because the obligation no longer remains as alternative. It has already become a pure obligation. Okay? So when only one prestation remains, what happens na ang dami-dami mong choices, pero isa na lang yung pwede mo ngang ma-deliver. So the obligation becomes simple, or if wala nang ibang conditions, it becomes a pure obligation. Ano, hindi na tayo namimili. Hindi na tayo namimili whether yan ay laptop or shabu. Hindi naman practicable na hindi naman pwede na yung shabu. So ano na lang remaining natin, yung laptop. So basically there's no more choice. Wala nang choice. It's no longer an alternative obligation, but it becomes a simple and pure obligation kasi isa na lang yung pwede mong gawin. So, loss of some things. If it would be on the debtor's choice, okay, 1204 discuss if the choice is left to the debtor and some things have gone missing, okay, if it is due to a fortuitous event, the debtor may still choose among what is remaining. Okay? So, if it's laptop, tablet, or cell phone, okay? Dahil ng fortuitous event, bumaha, okay? Binagyo ng sobra yung bahay nila na nalipad ang tablet at ang cellphone, nabasag, kaya hindi na makita kung nasaan. Ang natitira na lang na okay is the laptop. Then you have no other choice but to deliver the laptop. However, if yung cellphone lang ang nasira, pero nandyan pa ang laptop at saka ang tablet, pwede pa rin mamili si debtor kung alin yung i-deliver niya. Pero kailangan may piliin pa rin siya. Existing pa rin ang kanyang obligation because not all of the things are lost. However, if the loss is due to the debtor's fault, the creditor may now demand any of the remaining thing, and may claim for damages depending on facts. So, ano yung mangyayari? Kung mapatunayan niya na may fault si debtor kung bakit nawala yung iba doon sa mga pinagpipilan, let's say, laptop, phone, and tablet. Tapos yung pala, sa kagagawan niya, sa kagagawan ni debtor, dahil na kung saan ipinagpapatong yung cellphone, kaya nawala si phone. So, because there is negligence on the end of the debtor, may fault siya. Ngayon, ang pagpili ng laptop at saka ng tablet would now be on the creditor. Pwedeng siya na yung magsabi, okay, i-deliver mo sa akin ay laptop. Kahit ang gusto ni debtor ay tablet ang deliver sa kanya. But if the loss is due to the debtor's fault, then pwedeng ang mamili talaga. Pwedeng mamili ay si creditor. And whatever the creditor chooses, the obligation of it should be the obligation of the debtor to perform it. Okay? Pwede rin siyang mag-claim for damages if meron talaga siyang na-incur na damage. If wala naman, then wala kang pwedeng i-claim na na damage on that. And Article 1205, when choice belongs to the creditor. If the creditor has the choice, no, talagang either nag-agree upon sila that it would be the creditor who has the right of choice, or from their actions, they are allowing the creditor to have the right of choice, then and one item is lost through the debtor's fault, the creditor may choose among the remaining or demand value or damages as allowed. So, ano yung difference ito dun sa kanina? For this one, because from the very beginning, it is already upon the choice of the creditor. Si creditor talaga yung may right of choice. At may mga item na nawala. May mga item na wala. Let's say, laptop nga, tablet, and cellphone. For example, nawala ay si laptop. The laptop cost around 80,000, the tablet cost around 30,000, and the phone cost around, let's say 80,000 din. 80,000 kasi iPhone. Okay? 80,000. Ngayon, sabi ni debtor, ay um, nawala yung cellphone. Okay? Nawala yung cellphone. So, si laptop na lang at saka si tablet yung pagpipilian mo. Okay? So, si creditor, dahil siya yung may right of choice, at fault ni debtor kung bakit nawala sa cellphone, pwede nga sabihin niya, okay, yung laptop na lang kunin ko. Or, pwede sabihin niya, wala akong pipiliin, maalin dyan sa laptop or sa tablet, but give me the amount. Give me the value doon sa nawalang cellphone. Kasi yung cellphone talaga naman sana yung cellphone naman yung choice ko. And remember, communicated na yung sabi si cellphone yung kanyang choice. Then, nawawala daw si cellphone. So, ano ang gagawin? Pwedeng i-demand niya yung iba items, maalin dun sa dalawa, or sabihin, magkano yung value ng cellphone na nawala, yun yung i-demand ko from you. Okay? So, ano naman pag sinabi nating facultative obligations? When we say facultative obligations, only one prestation is due, but the debtor may substitute another. For example, the debtor must deliver a specific ring, but may also substitute 50,000 pesos. Remember, the key difference between alternative and facultative, in alternative, many are due, but only one needs to be performed. But for facultative, one is due, another is merely a substitute. Okay? Substitute lang yung isa. The practical effect to this, in facultative obligations, loss of the substitute does not affect the obligation unless substitution has already been made. So basically, ang kailangan mo talaga, ang due and demandable from you is the principal. Okay? The principal thing or the principal object as part of your obligation. However, you can have a substitute. Na pag pinayagan yan, na merong substitute, you have to communicate it as well. Na okay, magkaroon tayo ng substitution. So nag-allow ng substitution, you have to make sure that the substitution happens even prior na mawala yung principal object. Kasi if that happens, ibang usapan na kapag nawala si principal, kaya ka lang magsa-substitute. Okay? So, ano naman itong Articles 1207 to 1220, which is the joint and solidary obligations. So, for joint and solidary obligations, we presume, we have this presumption under our civil code that when there are multiple debtors or creditors, the obligation is presumed to be joint. Okay, it is presumed to be joint because it is less burdensome for the parties involved. So unless the presumption would not be followed if the law provides solidarity, or the contract expressly states solidarity, or the nature of the obligation requires solidarity. So for joint, each debtor would be liable only for its share. Each creditor is entitled also only to his share. So if you would see, it is less burdensome on the debtor. Because for example, we have 100,000. We have 100,000 as part of um the debtors. Meron tayong five debtors. We have five debtors, and ang kanilang utang ay 100,000. All in all, 100,000. So, being joint obligation yan, debtor A, B, C, D, E. Si debtor A, being that it is joint ang liability or ang obligation, kailangan niya lang bayaran is 20,000 pesos and not the whole 100,000. So, as to creditor naman, if you have multiple creditors, tinatay up natin yan. Kino-compute natin. Magkano lang yung pwedeng makuha mo as creditor and magkano lang yung pwedeng makuha as debtor. Tinitingnan natin. And um, I believe I have to discuss this with you in person in order for you to in order for me to be able to give you a clear picture on how we do joint and solidary obligations. But for this for this topic, I would just like to give you a hindsight on the idea of what joint and solidary is. And then for joint divisible presumption, if it is joint and divisible, each is liable only for the proportionate part. When you say divisible, yung performance of the obligation ay pwedeng paunti-unti at hindi kailangan ng isang buuan in order for the performance to or in order for the obligation to be fulfilled. Okay? Yes, if it is not delivered in full to you, we can say that there is a bridge to it, pero pag nakita natin na pwede nating paghati-hatiin yung portions of the performance of the obligation, then we can consider that as divisible. So kapag ganon, they're also only liable for the proportionate part. But if it is joint and indivisible, if it is joint but prestation is indivisible, breach by one converts to liability for damages, but each debtor is liable only for his share of damages. Okay? So we'll discuss that as well when I give you when I give you an example kung paano talaga natin siya pinagtutugma-tugma. Again, I'm just giving you the hindsight of what to expect when it comes to joint and solidary obligation. For Article 1220, an indivisibility does not mean solidarity. Indivisible obligations does not automatically mean solidary obligation. Because when you say solidary obligations, any debtor may be compelled to pay the whole, and any creditor may demand the whole, depending on solidary creditor arrangement. Now, bakit natin sinasabi na hindi equivalent ang indivisibility at solidarity? Because, di ba kanina sabi natin, if it is divisible, it could be portion. Pero if it's indivisible, hindi natin siya pwedeng paghati-hatiin, because there's no way for us to be able to, whether, um, as to tangibility or being intangible, pero as to the nature of the obligation, hindi siya pwedeng, or the prestation, hindi siya pwedeng paghati-hatiin for the performance, then it becomes indivisible. However, hindi dahil ang solidary has the idea that um, kung may siningil na isang debtor, kailangan bayaran niya ng buo. Yun din yung iisipin natin for indivisibility. That is not always the case because some indivisible obligations could also be joint obligations. Okay? And then for payment to solidary creditor, payment to any solidary creditor extinguishes the obligation unless that creditor is disqualified. So for example, meron tayong creditor, meron tayong limang creditor. And then they are solidary creditors. So supposedly, the payment to one creditor extinguishes the obligation. Yun yung general rule naman talaga. But if that creditor is disqualified, technically the obligation has not yet been really extinguished. So there is another, no, there is another we have to merong kailangan pang issue to be resolved with that kapag ang biglang na-declare na-declare by a judicial notice na ito palang creditor na ito na binayaran ay hindi naman pala siya allowed to accept those payments. Okay? So If one credit, as again as a general rule, if one creditor has already accepted payment, then it is supposedly extinguishing the obligation of the other debtors. However, you have to remember that the obligation has been extinguished as to the creditors, but yung nagbayad na debtor, yung una, yung kung sila man ay kung sila man ay solidary debtors, yung una nagbayad na debtor ay meron pa rin siyang karapatan na mag-seek ng payment from the other debtors, from their co-debtors para dun sa portion na binayaran nila. So that is already in their internal agreement. And then you have the acts that prejudice co-creditors. A sole direct creditor cannot do acts prejudicial to others like remission without consequences among co-creditors. Kasi when we say there is remission, kapag ganyan yung nangyayari, it is as if sinasabi ng isang creditor, o siya yung parte na yung sa akin, wag mo nang bayaran, yain na tayo na may magkumpare. So, if it is solidary, solidary yung gusto nyo mangyari, it is prejudicial to the others kasi baka isipin niya, adi lahat pala nung pati nung sa ibang co-creditors, hindi na ako magbabayad. You could technically do that for joint kasi computed natin kung ano lang yung portion mo. But for solidary, yes, you have a portion, but as to the nature of solidarity, pwede ngang buuan yung binabayaran natin. So demand by one solidary creditor, if a solidary creditor may sue, okay, in behalf of all of them, but the proceeds must be shared according to internal agreement. So kahit isa lang yung nagsampa ng kaso for collection case at siya lang yung kasi solidary naman nga sila, siya yung nag-represent sa kanila para makapag-demand siya, hindi pwedeng sabihin niya, naipanalo ko yung case na ako yung nakasingil, so akin na lahat to. Hindi, because you still have to acknowledge na ikaw ay solidary creditor. The reason na ikaw ay nakasingil lang sa kanya ng buo ay dahil nga ng solidarity in nature. Okay? And then you have novation, compensation, confusion, remission. This may extinguish the obligation as to all subject to internal reimbursement rules. Now, I will discuss this when we get back because this would also be in relation to the obligation of the extinguishment of obligations para isang discussion natin towards obligation, extinguishments of obligation. And then the creditor's right versus solidary debtors. The creditor may proceed against any solidary debtor or some or all. It is at his choice. Okay? Hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na dito lang po kayo pwedeng maningil kay B. Hindi. Okay? Pwede tayong mag-proceed kung sino yung gusto nila. However, there are some instances na yung siningil na una, let's say siningil na una is si debtor A, si debtor A pala ay walang sufficient na pambayad, pwede ngayon siya mag-go towards debtor B. Okay? Para si debtor B yung mag-fulfill nung para siya yung magbayad ng pangkabuuan if siya yung able to pay. Okay? And then, ito yung binabanggit ko kanina na reimbursement among solidary debtors. So, kapag may nagbayad na isa para sa kanila, may duty pa rin naman yung ibang co-debtors niya, yung solidary debtors, to pay the person who have paid. Let's say, lima nga sila, tapos 100,000. Binayaran ni debtor A ng buo yung 100,000. Okay? Si debtor A ngayon, meron siyang karapatan to be reimbursed. Okay? Pero hindi pwedeng ako na nagbayad ha, so ako bayaran niyo ako ng buong 100,000. Hindi. Kailangan kasama siya dun sa hatian kasi may utang din naman talaga siya doon. So, tigta 20,000 pa rin sila. Hindi pwedeng ang sisingilin niya lang ay itong si B, C, D, E, tapos siya ay walang magiging kabayaran doon. Kumbaga, tigta 25, hindi pwede. Kailangan tigta 20 pa rin silang lahat. So payment after prescription or illegal cost. So we'll be discussing this as well together with the extinguishment or yung sa mga novation na part because payment technically is also a ground for extinguishment of obligation. So what could be the defenses of the solidary debtor? The solidary debtor may raise that he was deprived from the nature of the obligation as the benefit of all, Defense is personal to him, benefit him only, or defense is personal to others, or limited lang yung kanyang defenses. Okay? So, we'll discuss also this when we discuss yung mga sa ating innovation, sa remission, para mas maintindihan natin if pwede ba talagang mag-remission pa rin even if there is solidarity. And remission to one solidary debtor. If creditor condones one debtor, share effects depend on wording and equity among debtors. So, yan yung mga pag-uusapan natin when I get back. Alright? So, maybe I can end with this and we will continue with divisible and indivisible obligations when I get back. Articles 1223 to 1225, and then we'll go back a bit dito nga sa solidary and joint obligations natin in order for me to give you first examples on it before proceeding. Alright? Sige. But I guess when I get back, we'll discuss a bit on divisible and indivisible para mas maintindihan natin at mas mapagtugmanan natin um, with you call this with solidarity and joint obligations because basically I've already gave you a hindsight as well on what happens with divisible and indivisible obligations. All right, thank you very much. I will see you again and take care.